over ShoWTimE for this series, but in the end now we can jump right on into it. HaNfy currently teamless, playing against ShoWTimE for our first best of 5 here at the EPS Germany finals. As we have spawning down to the bottom left-hand corner our yellow Zerg. As they're currently teamless, it is HaNfy. Let's turn them sounds up a bit. I hope you can hear the game sounds as well. And up to the top right-hand corner, we have ShoWTimE for ESC Icy Box. And already by the looks of things, going for a pylon on the low ground. So going to be going for a Forge Fast Expand, or even could just go for a Nexus first on this map. Not too much of a problem at all. Either option which he wants to choose. And then on the other side of things, I wonder what HaNfy's actually going to do. Because right now, it's got quite a bit of minerals building up. There was potential that he could have gone for an overpull there and just tried to go for a bit of Zergling aggression. But on a map like this, I generally consider this to be a good Zerg map against Protoss. So HaNfy probably feels a little bit comfortable on this as well. That being said, ShoWTimE did actually veto first. So ShoWTimE has chosen this map. So, I mean, one could only assume that ShoWTimE is also going to be feeling quite comfortable on this map as well. HaNfy's going to be opening up hatchery first, which against what we're seeing from ShoWTimE might not work out too well because he went Forge Fast Expand. So we could see a little bit of an opportunity to cannon rush. Now, there is a wall that you can do between the ramp. I'm not observing, by the way, guys. I'm just going off what the Germans are observing. So ShoWTimE between the ramp could... Yeah, he's going to throw down pylons exactly where I was anticipating. And then you can throw down a cannon behind this. And it's a really, really annoying cannon rush position. Because by the time he actually starts a cannon, I think he can push himself out down on that bottom position there with that probe. So HaNfy's in a little bit of trouble for how he's opened up. And he does push himself out there. Even cancels that pylon on the north, so you can actually just kind of wiggle around and even throw down a little bit more if he wants to. But at least HaNfy, for the most part, does have gas available to him. He did start that up before he actually saw those pylons and cannon going down. So he could get speed up and running, and then could try and do something from there. But, oh, tries to actually block there with a hatchery. I was surprised that he was actually going to go for that, but it did not succeed. So HaNfy's plans are to really go for a proxy hatch. Is this really... Oh, he's not going to be able to do it. ShoWTimE already knows. ShoWTimE is just going to trial this drone and make sure that no shenanigans go on. So good move so far by ShoWTimE on a map like this. And I just, in general, like how ShoWTimE opened up. I mean, with a Forge Fast Expand against a lot of Zergs nowadays that are trying to be very, very keen in getting that hatchery first down as quickly as they possibly can, it's a very, very good opener. Very, very good. And so denying that natural to begin with is a strong move. There should be Zerglings heading over there. He's actually just going to cancel that pylon and not do it. You know, I think he could have gotten away with that. I think he could have gotten away with actually cannoning out that base because these Zerglings aren't being too active down to the south of this expansion. They're just trying to get out there. No high ground vision means that this queen can eventually clean this up. And there is actually another hatchery up to the top left-hand corner going down for him. So that's okay. It's not too bad. The problem for HaNfy now, though, is that because his bases are so spread out, there is a good amount of room here for ShoWTimE to then put on some extra aggressive moves between these two locations, be it him going for a Stargate play, using Phoenix to exploit the fact that Queens can't get from base to base very easily, and then static defense, obviously Spore Crawlers, you would have to throw down 2 in each mineral line, not necessarily 1 if you don't have Queen support to really dance around those locations. And HaNfy now did transfer his drones down to that expansion over on the right-hand side. So there's still a lot of room here for ShoWTimE to really capitalize on the position he's put his opponent in just by having that 2 pylon and 1 cannon. And there we go. He's going to be going for the Stargate. So he's going to be playing exactly how we were anticipating him to just before with the Stargate play to put on aggression at other locations because he knows how far away those bases are, and thus he knows how hard it is for his opponent to defend. So this is a good option here from ShoWTimE. HaNfy, meanwhile, now has to realize this somehow, some way. He does have an Overlord positioned above his opponent's natural on an Overlord shelf, as I can't remember, somebody called it an Overlord shelf at one point. And this is being cleaned up, so ShoWTimE should be a tad supply blocked for just a second, but not a whole lot, because he will have that pylon at the back finishing up in due time. And I'm curious what he's going to go for. I mean, he could go for an Oracle, but I would like to see Phoenix, as they are the more stable transition here from ShoWTimE. He actually hasn't started anything just yet, and yeah, it is going to be the Phoenix option. And I really do like the Phoenix option better than the Oracle option, because yes, one Oracle against one Queen will actually win that fight, and then it can start going to work on drones. But Phoenix has the potential to completely shut down that Queen, deny that damage, and you know there's going to be only one Queen at each base, because the creep spread is not going to be extended to all of these bases. And I can't believe that HaNfy has actually gone for his natural as well, so he is going to have 4 bases in effect, but that's a bit of an overextension. It's going to be hard for him to really capitalize on that natural location while still defending all of his other positions from the Phoenix. He's only got one Phoenix out right now. Is that adding on a Robo? Huh. That's quite interesting. If he only uses this one Phoenix and then pushes out and kills on Overlords... Oh, okay, he's Chrono boosting into another Phoenix. So that was a bit strange. He could have had these Phoenix, the uptime on them be a bit more solid and drastic against what we're seeing from HaNfy. But he's finished up the Robo now, as well as a few more gateways, getting out a few observers and +1. I mean, there's a lot of opportunity here for him to actually expand off the back of this. But I still think he could have put on a lot more pressure than this. He's not really asserting himself as ShoWTimE during this game, which is something that he could have quite easily done. There is the Robo Bay now being added on. Generally, this is to actually go towards the committal of a third base. And eventually now HaNfy with that Overseer on the right-hand side will get in there and see the entire plan unfolding here for ShoWTimE. But I think that the knock-on effects that ShoWTimE could have taken advantage of just aren't being utilized here. With 3 Phoenix here, he's going to have to pick up twice unless another Phoenix comes along to actually help that out. And no, so this is going to be okay. It's going to be okay. He's going to actually now have killed off that Queen down there. And there are a lot of Lings poised outside, but they really can't do much with that wall actually established. This is one location, though, where he could do something. Force Field should be able to deny this, though, and these Lings just sacrifice themselves for that third base. So, for the greater good, here, ShoWTimE, yes, will establish this third base, and with the timing of his Robo Bay and the Colossi coming out, with HaNfy actually going for the Hydralisk Den, he should be able to hold on to that third base location, but I don't know 100% whether or not he knows that that natural was taken as quickly as it was. He must know now because the Phoenix, well, sorry, he must know in just a second because the Phoenix are about to get in there and see the creep at least. Killing a few of these Overlords, exploiting the terrain and making sure that those Hydralisks can't get there. And I don't know why we're lagging. Sorry about that, guys. No lag, no lag. As I say, this is a piggyback broadcast. I'm just waiting for their stream to be okay. No. No. Okay. Picking up drones. Sick. Oh, this is interesting. Okay, so yeah, we have some major lag for some reason. Yeah, so this is an interesting cast so far. I certainly haven't cast quite like this before, but we'll do what we can. Picking up drones, picking up queens, doing a little bit of damage in the main base, but other than that. With the Roach Warren and Spire already going down as well, HaNfy's diversifying his tech enough to go into the standard staple mid-game, as well as the potential late-game transitions against the Protoss that you need. But Protoss right now, ShoWTimE on the other side of things is amassing a very, very strong position. It's going to be very difficult for him, for HaNfy to ever break that third base location. He's going to have to arguably come in from both left and right-hand sides and get a very, very strong concave against him. Nice pickup there, though, on the Phoenix. Any Phoenix that he can kill off here really does alleviate any pressure on the offensive from him, and then he can himself go on the offensive from there. Also, I don't mind the creep spread and the trajectory which that's taken there from HaNfy down the right-hand side so that he can eventually establish himself that goal base a bit easier against his opponent, giving him a bit more dominance on that right-hand side. And again, guys, sorry about the lag. There is really nothing I can do about that. I'm just using an internal stream and casting over it. because right now I can't observe. It's very, very difficult for me. So a few more Corruptors are on the way. He already had 10 in production just before, going up to another 5, so he's going to have a lot of Corruptors. One thing's for sure is that he really wants to deal with that Colossus threat very, very fast. I wish I could check the units tab so I could see how many Colossi are out. Okay, there's only 2. I would say that this amount of Corruptors is a bit of an overcommittal, and ShoWTimE identified that Corruptors were on the way, so it's been implementing the Immortals in his composition a bit more heavily. So this could actually go in his favor. There's going to be a lot of dead weight in that Corruptor count. Whereas whilst HaNfy, yes, he is maxed out, a lot of Zerglings, Roaches, and Hydras, that +2 weapons is going to have to kick in very, very soon to really have them do what they need to on the ground. And ShoWTimE, I think ShoWTimE should be okay. I mean, he has a lot of energy on these sentries. He's going to be able to cut up the army pretty effectively. Even if this location is to be breached with those rocks, ShoWTimE is going to have a lot of firepower without these 2 Immortals as well. He saves himself the need to actually take the engagement there by forcing this army away. And again, it's only 2 Colossi. The Corruptors can do their job very fast. Time Warp will fall. Those force fields actually doing a great job of isolating some of the units on the left-hand side as the Corruptors fly in and kill off their targets. But aside from that, I mean, what are you going to do? Those Corruptors are now dead weight. They're not going to do anything. HaNfy strongly overestimated exactly how much he needed this number of Corruptors. And then from here, ShoWTimE now not only can press his issue down this left-hand side, because he was already there to try and put on some pressure. Look, I mean, look at that HaNfy throwing down a few Desperation Spines to try and deal with that, but also transitioning behind this to Storm. There's tons of room here for ShoWTimE to really do whatever he wants. Behind that, he's got his Warp Prism just finished up as well. He doesn't really need to overextend too much onto this creep, but he's going to move anyway because he has so much power behind this Blink Stalker Sentry army with those 3 Immortals, I should say, behind that, also providing extra firepower. And once those Colossi ended up dying off, this effectively becomes a standard kind of Immortal push with Blink. But it has a lot of impact behind it. And again, Corruptors just flying around. If you see, look at how many Corruptors are actually in the sky there. That's almost 30 supply of dead weight. And ShoWTimE expanding down towards that gold location is completely fine for him. With these supply counts, with these supply differences that we're seeing, all that ShoWTimE needs to do to solidify that position is, you know, like a little bit more time to get more energy on his sentries. These Zealots are going to turn around because they know that they would always been chased down. So wants to get a little bit of bang for his buck there. But the Blink Stalker's now just going to move forward. He knows he's lured his opponent's army way out of position. Doesn't want to move too far into that area because it's very, very open. Force fields are going to have a much, much harder time of denying this army from really pushing on forward. He throws down a few, and actually those are really good force fields to actually make sure that the majority of the army is sealed back. And look, I mean, again, look at the supplies. 169 to 185. ShoWTimE is playing this out well. And there is the opportunity now for HaNfy to try and go for the counterattack. This is what he's going to do. But he has to be very, very careful, because if he gets pinned between a rock and a hard place in this area, there's actually no way for him to retreat out. He has to establish a very strong concave at the top of this ramp, but Guardian Shields have already been thrown up by ShoWTimE. He knows he has to anticipate the fight as well. If the Corruptors can kill off that Mothership core, that would be nice, as it does have a bit of energy for the Time Warp, which is all important. And he's actually just going to recall home. Where did he go? He went over to the third base, by looks of things. The Zealots and High Templars separating themselves off, but he does have access to Storm. That's a good first Storm. Not too bad second one, but the separation of HaNfy was okay. The big problem for HaNfy, though, now is the firepower that we're seeing for him ShoWTimE in game number 1. Corruption on everything, but the blink forwards as well. ShoWTimE's army is just too superior. And you've got to remember that, again, this was off the back of having very, very few Colossi. The big defining factor of this game is 2 Colossi only in that composition against like 16, 17 Corruptors. Real dead weight behind that. And ShoWTimE played this out well, transitioning onto his extra Storm tech and knowing how to move forward to Immortal production as opposed to just stick around on Colossi production is very, very good. The forcing out from ShoWTimE has been strong this game and doing all right for himself. So Good job so far. More force fields. Drones come off the line on the left-hand side for HaNfy to try and push this back as he knows it's desperate, desperate times. And a few storms on these Hydralisks for good measure, because once he kills those off, he knows he's killing off the big brunt and firepower of HaNfy's army. A few more in production to try and rally forwards to the front here, but he's down 100 supply. There you go, GG for game number 1. And ShoWTimE will take this first map in the best of 5. Nicely done there by HaNfy. Nicely done there by ShoWTimE. Really good understanding of how HaNfy was going to play, and a lot of that came off the back of his Phoenix being able to poke forwards and get the information that they were able to do, as well as the harassment. You've not only got to remember that, yes, those Phoenix can do a lot for you in terms of damage. They picked up a few queens here and there. They got a few drones, but they were able to spot that tech, that all-important tech. So guys, for now, whilst we wait for that, game number 2. Hi. Welcome to the stream here, the English stream. We're just piggybacking on the German broadcast, as I'm having a little bit of a hard time observing with this hand. It's not really doing too much. But as you can probably tell, it's pretty obvious that I cheesed Slivko on ladder, and that's why I now end up looking like this here for the cast. I haven't really done a whole lot of casting as of late. We're just waiting in the downtime between seasons here at WCS for ESL TV. But other than that, we're going to be getting good to go in just a little bit into game number 2, and I'm looking forward to that. ShoWTimE showed a very, very strong game, and again, I'm not observing. I'm just going off what our German broadcast can actually see. But I'm happy to be able to bring you these games regardless. I'm in a bit of pain. I've taken a lot of painkillers, but that's not going to stop me from casting some Starcraft that I am scheduled to cast. It's my cast. All right, so I'm looking devilishly handsome, as you can probably tell, of course. All right, so we're just waiting now for these guys to get into game number 2. I'm not quite sure what the map is. You got to remember there is a best of 5 here between these two guys. And let me just quickly remind myself of the prize pool that's at stake here. Okay, so 3rd and 4th place gets 550 euros, which is pretty good. 2nd place gets 1,500 euros, and then 1st place gets 3,000 euros. And again, normally you see prize pools actually distributed in like dollars. Even in the European scene, you see it distributed like that because dollars are cool and the figure looks bigger. But with the euros, that's actually a lot of money. Like 3,000 euros is the equivalent of something like $50,000, I think, if my conversions are completely accurate and correct. So we are just waiting now. I'm looking at my preview monitor and making sure everything's okay. So we are just waiting now to get into our second game. So a big thank you for joining me here on the stream, guys. I really do appreciate it. It's a bit more of a kind of ghetto broadcast. And I'm in a bit of pain, as I said before, after losing to Slivko. So we are now just waiting as we jump back and have a look at ShoWTimE here, representing ESC Icebox. But that was a good game from him. If the series keeps going quite like this, then we could see ShoWTimE move on to the final. He's got a long way to go, though, as does HaNfy. Let's get on to game number 2. King Sejong Station is our map. King Sejong Station with HaNfy. It's not me doing the intros, so I'm just like, and up to the top left-hand corner, we have our red Protoss. Winning game number 1 is ESC ShoWTimE. Dear me. All right. Great stuff. So, game number 2 now. Game number 2. And noticeably, we already see a bit of a difference from ShoWTimE. He's going for a gateway, or it could actually even be a forge in his main. Whatever he actually wants to choose here, it is quite all right. Yes, that's true. I did get slapped in the face with my golden hand by Brom. Okay. So, let's see what's going to happen in this game. Now, the way you actually wall off King's Age on Station as a Protoss player on the other side of the map for ShoWTimE is actually quite an interesting one. So I can understand why, you know, if that's one of the reasons why he doesn't want to necessarily go for something like that wall off super quick. But the way in which ShoWTimE is actually playing this is very, very clever, because what he's doing with that pylon in the main base is if he just goes over to that Nexus first, after seeing what his opponent did in game number 1, which was the hatchery first, he feels that his opponent is probably going to play predictably to that effect here in game number 2 on King's Age on Station. And then go for a hatch first again, which means he can get away with a Nexus very, very fast. And then from that point on, can capitalize on a bit more of an economical advantage compared to a bit more of an aggressive advantage that he took in game number 1. So, Probe's going to head on in here, confirm that it is a hatchery first, and then be happy. And now he's just kind of luring his opponent into a false sense of insecurity with that Probe poking around the back there, and that drone actually had to come back for a second there to make sure that nothing crazy was going on. Sees the gas, sees a lack of gas, I should say, there from him. So he's going to be feeling a little bit more comfortable with the opener that he's chosen to do. And for ShoWTimE, this is an incredibly, incredibly greedy opening. Like, Nexus first into Gateway with that second pylon, and then going into double gas from here. And all of this has been spotted by HaNfy, and HaNfy can only be thinking, ah, damn it. Well, you know, these things happen. But behind that, he did go for his third hatchery as well after his pool. So it's okay. It's not the most terrible of positions. But we'll find out what's going to happen from here. ShoWTimE now. Technically, this expansion is a bit vulnerable because he doesn't have a wall off, so he's going to have to start building that. But again, without any kind of gas coming down from HaNfy, there's not really a huge amount of, as our Germans are pointing out now, there's not really a huge need for him to really rush up that wall. He knows that Zerglings with speed are not going to be out anytime soon after seeing any lack of gas. He knows that there's probably not going to be any like roaches hitting him anytime soon because there's just no gas. So long story short, guys, there's no gas. Okay, good. I'm glad we established that. All right, so sentries on the way here. Dual purposes in essence. I mean, not only with the lack of wall could, if something eventually came along to throw down a force field later on, he could also use this as a hallucination scout whilst throwing the Stargate down as well. And I was wondering where he was going to spend all of that gas, because the double gas went down, you know, pretty rapidly off his initial opener. And he's actually thrown down 2 extra gases pretty fast as well in his natural. One of which has been spotted by an Overlord already. This Overlord, though, is going to spot the tech, which is very, very nice for HaNfy. But the question remains is, what's HaNfy actually going to do? HaNfy probably, from here, after seeing the Stargate opener, is going to be rushing up to layer pretty fast, getting his Hydralisk Den down once again. But one thing that scares me a little bit for HaNfy is how well ShoWTimE, despite not being super aggressive with his initial Phoenix opener in game number 1, was still able to transition over to the Colossi and, you know, put his opponent in a bit of an awkward position from there. There wasn't really a whole lot of opportunity for those Hydralisks to do anything, and then by the time the Corruptors had come out, ShoWTimE had already identified that Corruptors were on the way to deal with the Colossi numbers, and they already transitioned over to Immortals, by which time, again, he established a very, very good spot to actually defend against, and it was always going to be difficult for HaNfy to do something. So here in game number 2, we do have a Forge going down. Obviously, wants to get those upgrades going against all of this. Speed is on the way for HaNfy, but this is more of a kind of precautionary measure than anything. I really don't see him doing anything aggressive with this, unless he really wants to start breaking down rocks, and even then, ShoWTimE probably would be very wary and cautious of that. He can see the rocks at that left-hand side of his base, natural, I should say, with the gas as well. So there's no need to actually position any extra buildings there, like a pylon, to spot exactly what's going on over at that location. But again, the Phoenix will push the Overlords away, giving him a bit of map presence. And it's going to be the standard go-to Hydralisk Den against Robo. And then HaNfy needs to identify how that robo is being spent, what that robo is doing. If he can't identify exactly what's coming out of that robo, then he's going to have a hard time. Because again, I keep harking on about it, but in game number 1, having that many Corruptors doing nothing for the whole time was a huge chunk of his army that just wasn't doing anything. And it's not like you can just sacrifice and trade them away, because if you do, then you invite your opponent to just make extra Colossi again. And if you don't, then you're just stuck with dead weight. So it's a really lose-lose situation there for HaNfy in game number 1. At least Speed's finished now, though, with these Lings that can be very pesky. They're actually going to get a full surround on these Zealots that do not have +1 weapons. But even then, they don't really get too good a trade. HaNfy did poke away at that 3rd base. But, I mean, something that's very evident right now, something that we're seeing in the supply counts, is that ShoWTimE is keeping up with HaNfy quite considerably. Obviously, that HaNfy's now, we're at that position where HaNfy's macro should start exploding. And we should see HaNfy, if he wants to go for like a mid-game Hydralisk kind of play, you know, really shoot up and really get a lot out. But he's got drones still moving over to that 4th base. The Phoenix are doing a good job, really exploiting the positioning of the Hydralisks. The Hydras did get separated up a bit there to try and catch out these Phoenix. So if he can get one, yes he does. They got caught really hard there, but just heading on down south is okay. We have another Phoenix being able to spot that on the left-hand side, that hallucinated Phoenix. And where is the Spire? That's important. I guess, actually, no. I mean, it's not so important that ShoWTimE actually spots it, because he can probably anticipate something like that's going to be happening after what happened in game number 1, etc. So I won't be surprised if we see exactly the same game from ShoWTimE now. Just with a bit more of a punch behind it, because he had the Nexus first, because he had a better economical setup from the beginning. There is obviously the knock-on effect of, yes, HaNfy also has the better economical setup as well. Because he didn't get denied by some like pylons and cannons, etc. But other than that, should be okay. A few more gateways get added on for ShoWTimE whilst killing off these Overlords. And again, look, I mean, ShoWTimE's still doing really well in terms of the macro. Once HaNfy has a few more Overlords pop out, that's when he can really just spring into action. Is he actually just going to add on, like, I mean, with the gas buildup he has, technically he could go Mutalisks, but he's just going to go Corruptors again. He really likes this big power punch of a wave of Mutalisks, but if we see an Immortal in production now, then it's so clear. If we see, come on ShoWTimE, do it, because if he does, then it's so clear that he does it. He does it again. He knows exactly how HaNfy is playing out this matchup right now. There's no two ways about it. No two ways about it. He's going to see, I mean, he's anticipating this transition of the Corruptors coming out. I mean, it's a very standard play, but it's a big wave of them. That's the big thing about it. And it's 12. Again, it's not quite the 16, 17 that we saw in the first game, but it's 12. So HaNfy is slightly adapting. If he adds on more, though, I'm going to cry. He is slightly adapting, though. He's not going up anymore. 12 to deal with 2 Colossi, I would say that maybe still a little bit of an overcommittal, but the line between overcommittal and undercommittal for a Zerg here at this point is very difficult unless you're fully getting information on your opponent's composition all the time. Of course, yes, there are 2 Colossi out, but if there was an extra 3rd one there, then yeah, then maybe 12 is good. And it wouldn't be too difficult for ShoWTimE to just say, well, yeah, I'm going to get a 3rd Colossus. But anyway, Contaminate here on a gateway. Was that a gateway? I think it might have been the Robo during all of this. But it doesn't matter. That's by the by, because ShoWTimE right now has built himself up a very strong army. HaNfy's army is okay, but the one big difference here from game number 1 to game number 2, whilst the compositions are relatively similar from both players, is that his +2 weapons, I should say, sorry, is a little bit slower. So he's not going to quite have the impact that he did in game number 1 when he went for that engagement that he did even lose. And this army is so far out of position. The Blink Stalkers even realized how far out of position it was. Maybe they overextended a little bit. The Corruptors are going to come in now and kill it off. Actually, HaNfy has a really good concave on that right-hand side. But even with that concave, I'm not so sure he's actually going to get the better end of this engagement. The Immortals from the back are powering on through. Blinkstalkers just continue to be warped in and keep going. And ShoWTimE just wins this battle decisively, even pushing on forward, even with the aggressive Blink. He's also setting himself up a pile on the left-hand side. He's establishing himself at 4th base, and whilst getting that up, in a similar vein to game number 1, he's going to be completely fine. He could pressure if he wanted to. This is a bit of a change-up, though, from HaNfy to go for Mutalisks. The one cool thing about Mutalisks is that he can try and keep his opponent on the defensive, but with the Phoenix that are already out, all that ShoWTimE actually needs to do is press the issue. Because Mutalisks in a straight-up engagement aren't really going to do a whole lot. And I kind of see from HaNfy's side of things why this initial wave of Corruptors could synergize very well with this, because now those Corruptors can technically zone out Phoenix, and then he can continue on with that aggression. But there's a lot of Blinkstalkers. If he actually just made a nuisance of himself in the middle of the map and tried to push on forward, then he could do something with that army that we're seeing here from ShoWTimE. But whatever the case, this pylon's going to be spotted over on the left. The ice will be broken. And he even spots that Warp Prism, which is nice. That's a nice pickup to at least spot that and make sure nothing's going to happen. We have a little bit of an engagement in the natural as those Mutalisks completely rip up stuff. And now, ShoWTimE. This could be a weakness for ShoWTimE. This really could be a weakness. I mean, he's got Storm on the way, yeah, sure, that's cool, but Storm, for me, in my mind, really isn't the best answer to this Mutalisk play. Because by the time you end up storming them, sure, you catch them, and then they run away into a corner, and then they heal up. And these Phoenix can't really pursue them too much because they died. I didn't expect them to die. I thought he was going to micro it a bit more. I was going to say the Phoenix can't pursue them because the Corruptors would try and zone them out, but that wasn't the case. They just died. Sad times for ShoWTimE. And at least he cleans up some of these Hydralisks on the right-hand side. But hey, HaNfy is battling it out, man. I really like the change-up from game number 1 to game number 2. HaNfy is making a good meal of this. I'm trying to adjust my headset, but my arm is hard. It's hard to move my arm, so I'm looking forward to my rest this weekend. I am going to do nothing but lie in bed. It's going to be great. And just rest my bones. Anyway, so another Blink forwards to deny this. Again, unfortunately for ShoWTimE, Blinkstalkers aren't really the best answer. HaNfy is playing such a mobile style right now that it's going to keep ShoWTimE completely run ragged. Across, if you look on the minimap, look at those 4 base locations. How are you supposed to defend those 4 bases with Phoenix alone? These Zealots, are they actually going to get that expansion? They actually get it. Nice pickup there by him. But at the same time, HaNfy, you cheeky devil, look at the base he's taken over on this left-hand side. And because it's behind the rocks that haven't been broken down by ShoWTimE, ShoWTimE's hardly ever going to see that. Unless he chases the Mutalisks with the Blinkstalkers. I think ShoWTimE's had enough, though. I think ShoWTimE's just going to go. It's always going to be difficult for him to ever engage because he doesn't have extra Stargates, because he doesn't have the Phoenix numbers. And his initial Phoenix number just got completely killed off and reset and cut down. So that's tough for him. That's tough. Again, though, great adaptation from HaNfy. Great adaptation to just go straight to the Mutalisks once his initial force dies off. I really like that. So we're just waiting now to see what ShoWTimE's actually going to choose to do. He's actually split his army up in 2 here. But the thing is that if HaNfy wants, he can happily go for a base trade. I mean, he's setting up for a base trade, right? He's got a Nida Swarm going down so he can evacuate his main. He knows that all of the units, all of the drones, all of any extra units from his main and natural are going to be sealed in there because there's only one retreat path. Few units have been separated up for ShoWTimE, and HaNfy is actually supply blocked. That's a bit of a nuisance. He's going to try and bring down these Archons. Oh, they're actually taking a bit of damage. Okay, he's losing a lot of those Mutalisks. How many does he have left? He only has 3 Mutalisks left. Why did he just try and not focus down those Archons? Oh, really? All right, well, GG. I didn't expect that. He actually came back for the cleanup, but he clumped up all of his Mutalisks above those Archons. All right, well, I guess that's how the cookie crumbles, or how the Mutalisk crumbles in the end. That wasn't so good for him. That wasn't so good for HaNfy. Again, I really, really liked the adaptation from him to swing from Corruptors to the Mutalisks after that, but that really didn't work out too well. So, oh well. I think he could have made more of that game. I think he could have actually tried to advance into a wider base trade scenario from there. He did realize that there were a lot of Stalkers left over on that right-hand side base for ShoWTimE, so maybe he felt that he wasn't comfortable enough actually engaging into that fortified location. So ShoWTimE set himself up well, but I think HaNfy could have made a bit more of it. So now we are just going to wait for game number 3. ShoWTimE is currently 2 games up here at the EPS finals here in Germany. And this is the semi-final. Best of 5, winner advances onto the grand final to play for either 3,000 euros in first place or 1,500 euros if you place in second. So if you're just tuning in and wondering why I am battered and bruised, it's because I ran into a door. So apologies for that, but it's not going to stop me from casting some Starcraft here. And now, in just a little bit, we're going to be getting into our third map, which is HaNfy Stronghold here. So in just a little bit, we'll be jumping on into that. So again, a big thanks for joining me here on the stream. I really do appreciate it. It's a little bit more of a ghetto stream. It's like I am basically piggybacking on the German stream. I'm piggybacking on the German stream. So it's nice to just kind of get this going. And for now, we'll just wait and hopefully all is good. Going back to the roots and casting solo EPS stuff. Thank you very much for tweeting me, Mr. Luke Davey. And hopefully we'll be jumping into this one in just a little bit. Alrighty, so for now, ShoWTimE 2 games up to 0. Looking very, very strong, very, very dominant. Even with the change-up that we saw from HaNfy, it still wasn't enough to vanquish ShoWTimE during all of this. Again, my casting might seem a little bit sporadic. I haven't cast for a little bit, I haven't solo cast for a little bit, and I'm not feeling in the best of shape. But it's not going to stop me, guys, here. ESL Pro Series, semi-final, game number 3, ShoWTimE and HaNfy. Our blue Zerg currently teamless. It is HaNfy. Perfect timing for the zooming. Thank you, German stream. Blurry camera. It's like I can see with my own eyes. And up to the top left-hand corner, we have our 2-0 up Protoss. It's ShoWTimE. Jeez, that was loud. All right, okay, so let's get into this. Wait, what? How? Oh, okay. What's going on? Why are they on this view? They're showing me the natural, all right, okay. Oh no, I was like, wait, why? For some reason I got confused then. I thought Funko was observing, but no, it's the Germans. Okay, so, all right, let's get into this. So, HaNfy has a mountain to climb in this best of 5, that's for sure. ShoWTimE now, looking good. He'll have to go up against either Marine or Patience in the grand final if he advances on 3-0. After seeing these last 2 games, I won't be surprised if he did. But one thing that could happen in this game, now let's think about this, is that from what we saw from HaNfy there, the transition potential from him into that kind of Corruptor Mutalisk style. HaNfy Stronghold, for me, personally, is a cool map to see that kind of play going again. If we saw something like that from him, after maybe trying to establish himself at a bit of a ground position, that could be cool. I wouldn't mind that too much. ShoWTimE, though, he's going to be opening up for the Nexus first into the Forge. So a strong, greedy, economical opening here from him. I think he probably could have got away even with a gateway opener from here. I think he was just scared of the potential of HaNfy, like, kind of metagaming him. You know, this is such a big map that you would oftentimes just assume your opponents are going to be going for something very, very greedy, but then a Zerg could say, haha, you're going for Nexus first, and I know that you would be because you thought I was going to play greedy, but now I'm going to pressure with some Zerglings early on. But that's not to be. That's not to be here. The spawning pool will finish up in just a little bit. So he didn't go like triple hatch before pool or anything. HaNfy equally is kind of respecting his opponent, opening up a bit more normally and making sure that, you know, say if ShoWTimE were to have opened up a forge first and then sent a probe out in one direction, realizing he wasn't in that top right-hand corner, then sending out another probe down to the bottom left-hand, he would have ended up spotting him there. Game is paused for a second. Game is paused for a second. So, whilst we're waiting, we'll come back to me here. Hi guys, welcome to the stream here at the ESL Pro Series. If you're just tuning in and finding out exactly why I am injured, I've been playing a little bit too much Dark Souls as of late, and I got angry and punched a wall and then fell into that wall, and that's why I have this injury. So, let's jump right back on in and find out exactly how this is going to unfold in game number 3. I should really get to doing more solo casting at some point. I would like to do more solo casting. It allows me just to be a little bit goofy. Which is always fun. It's always fun. Okay, so 7 inch core being added on. Obviously, there's not really a whole lot more I can do from there. This Overlord did actually spot this Nexus, but I don't think the Nexus spotted the Overlord. So he may be a little bit in the dark as to where his opponent spawned, but that probe down to the bottom is also going over there. It's already scouted out the other 2 locations. So by chance he can, you know, he can spot that out. And he will end up going over there. So, let's see what he's going to spot. Not really a whole lot. At least he spots that there's no gases at the main. And he can probably anticipate that there's no gases at the natural because, you know, he wouldn't have been able to really mine from that efficiently. You want to be getting that gas around the same time that you were getting the pool if you want to really exploit it to the best of its ability. And it doesn't really time out with the natural that well. I mean, he could be saying, he could have, you know, anticipated some really craziness and then said, well, you know, you're probably going to push me away from the main, so maybe you took it down in the natural, but that's not really the case normally. He took the double gases after that probe was pushed away, and he is getting another hatchery down at the 3rd location. But ShoWTimE is just sticking to his guns. He's just getting his Stargate up and adding on that sentry as well, just for the defense. And eventually we already saw him going into the Hallucinate Phoenix later on, but also the Phoenix to begin with so that it can start applying the pressure. And I think Phoenix, once again, you know, a great opening from ShoWTimE. We've seen it doing 2 games already. He's adding on the Robo during that first Phoenix's completion. And then from here, he can bounce between these bases, get a few drones if he wants to. Right, it depends on which way he actually sends the Phoenix, because there is an Overlord position between the natural and the main. Which is already being harassed. So he actually does spot these Phoenix and start adding on the Spore Crawlers to zone them out. There is sometimes opportunities where, you know, this Phoenix can try and skirt around the edges of this map and then eventually head over there to actually put on some pressure. But this Overlord, what are we seeing? Why are you looking at this Overlord? I think the Germans are taken, those guys are illustrating the fact that Overlord on the right-hand side isn't going to be able to get too much information. That's his next scouting technique, unless he has another Overlord on the left-hand side that would be morphed into an Overseer and then getting in. So it's going to be up to that Overlord on the right-hand side to morph into an Overseer and get over there as quickly as possible to really identify what his opponent's up to. Because there is a slight change-up. There is a Warp Prism on the way, and what we could actually see here is him going for the ramp. Because the Phoenix do a really, really good job here. Not only did they kill off that Overlord between the bases, but they also identified how much information his opponent had between his bases and his opponent's bases, right? Like, there's no other Overlords in that location. So that Warp Prism can get over there completely undeterred. I'm under the impression that it would have picked up sentries to actually go for the ramp. And then from there, he could actually warp in quite a bit. I mean, technically, he is getting the Roverve as well. But this is just like an extra little boon, an opportunity for him to really hit home against his opponent. There are going to be Hydralisks down, and they are getting Groove Spines first, which technically can help against something like that if it comes along and tries to push this away. But if he baits out the Hydralisks into a, you know, not exactly the best of locations over in the main, look at how many Zealots are there, jeez. All right, this could get very interesting. But he does have to anticipate Hydras, right? One thing that would have been lovely for these Phoenix is he actually continued the Phoenix production. So he could actually pick up a lot of these Hydralisks if they were isolated, but he actually walks into a few of them, loses one already. This looks very, very similar to a build that we saw from Zest on this map in GSL. And he's actually going to start picking them up. This is a good choice here. Those Spore Crawlers are still going to work on some of these Phoenix. He really needs to keep them alive. Any lift that he can get here is fantastic for him. And he's actually just going to do a lot of damage. He is actually just going to do a lot of damage. This looks very, very Zest-esque. Not quite as well executed. The great hold position on those drones, actually. That was a really, really nice touch there by HaNfy to make sure that those Zealots couldn't quite easily get into there. This could have gone a bit better for ShoWTimE. This could have gone a bit better. One thing that could have happened for him is maybe poke and prod around a little. I mean, I don't want to be hypercritical. Obviously, I'm not the pro player. ShoWTimE is the pro here, but poking and prodding around, catching some of those Hydralisks as they pop would be nice to bring those numbers down to make it even easier to pressure that third base. But in the greater scheme of things, you know, he did get his third base down during all of that, and he has the Colossi behind it as well. But this just opens up a little room now, a bit of breathing room for HaNfy, as he realizes his opponent invested quite a bit of that and didn't necessarily get the damage done that he ideally wanted to. So, all right. Twilight Council being added on, as well as a few more gateways. And these Hydralisks up on the to the south here have been spotted. This one Colossus is the big threat, though, to these. And he has been spotted and everything by this. So there's really not too much that they can do. Hydra's speed isn't finished. So even if they wanted to, they really couldn't get on top of that Colossus and kill it off. And he has no other way to do that right now. One thing that he does have going, though, is +1 weapons on the air. And I won't be surprised if we saw that big round of Corruptors again. But one interesting thing, once again, is we come back to that similar time in the previous 2 games where we have now 2 Colossi on the field. Do we see Immortals come out? And does HaNfy commit once again to the big wave of... Oh, bye-bye, Phoenix. Okay, so, change up once again from HaNfy. It was like Corruptors one game, then Corruptors and Mutalisks one game, and now predominantly Mutalisks. This one Corruptor, in essence, he could try and show this and fake him out, but already Immortals are in production anyway. Okay, so more Overlords in production, just freeing up that supply so that he can get ready to macro explode. And ShoWTimE needs to identify this really quickly, because if Mutalisks get out of control on this map, then he's not going to be doing anything. Especially, this is great for HaNfy, especially because he killed off those Phoenix. It's the perfect way for him to really capitalize on his opponent's position, because we saw how reluctant in the previous game, and here we go, he just gets in straight in there, those probes are completely vulnerable. We saw how reluctant ShoWTimE was to transition to higher numbers of Phoenix in that previous game. Even this push forwards does pose quite a threat. The Zerglings getting on top of the sentries could kill those off pretty fast. The Colossi aren't really doing effective damage that they would like to be doing. But in the end, that will get pushed off. So now, on a map like this, as ShoWTimE, if you are not going to go into extra Stargates, he has actually got Phoenix in production now, because he realizes on a map like this how important it is to deal with that. But he only has 1 Stargate. He doesn't have a fleet beacon, he doesn't have any air upgrades, so these Mutalisks are just going to come in, kill off the Colossi, and then what are you supposed to do? What, try and defend this with Blink Stalkers? Good luck. He can push it away from this location, but once the Mutalisks, they're even just going to go for the trade. They don't care. They don't care. HaNfy is controlling this game. Good adaptation for HaNfy. It took him a game or so to really kind of get used to exactly what ShoWTimE was going to be doing. But now he just rules the roost. There's really not a whole lot that ShoWTimE actually has available to him. Sure, maybe 1 or 2 Phoenix are going to come out here, but really not too much more. And a little bit of lag. Sorry about that, guys. Again, this is piggyback broadcast, and I'm just going off exactly the clean feed from the German broadcast. So we'll be jumping into game number 4 in just a bit, I should imagine. I'm not one to normally call games early, but HaNfy just has a control on this. Actually, you know, I suppose there was a potential that he could stabilize, but I mean, there's too much power behind HaNfy now. This is a good technique, though, actually transitioning over to some harassment down on this base because the Warp Prism never died. Why do I have lag? No! Oh, I'm sorry, guys. There's not a whole lot I can do about lag, because I'm just going off a clean feed in the studio. Sad times, sad times. And the Warp Prism. That was really his last bastion of hope to come back into this game, I feel. Archon's trying to deter a lot of Mutalisk. Oh, wait, whoa, 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 whoa. Now that I say... All right, I'm going to go back on a lot of what I just said. He actually has a lot of probes left. He actually still has a lot of mining. Now, the one big problem I see for ShoWTimE from here is how on earth do you claim a 4th base? How do you do that? It's going to be very, very difficult. Why is this lag here? I am going to tell my producer, I have lag, sad face. I have lag. A lot of technology in there. Well, the thing is that technically I could have been in the game trying to observe, but because my hands aren't working too well, because, as I say, I'm a little bit bruised and battered, this was the best way we could have done this. So, sorry about that, as it looks like things have stabilized now. So the addition of Corruptors with these Mutalisks is just the perfect complementing. And again, there's still that reluctance to really throw down any Stargates, but ShoWTimE at this point, that Fleet Beacon now coming in, he felt he had to establish himself more ground defense so that he could make sure that his economy wasn't having damage done to it. But it was like a lose-lose situation, right? Like, you add on Phoenix and then you don't have enough and then everything just comes in and kills you. Or you try and buy time here and the Mutalisks now just take a straight engagement with this. That one Archon actually did quite a bit of damage to those Corruptors. And we're still lagging. No! I'm sorry, guys. My producer is on his way. Our technician guy is on his way. So another Spire even to add on double upgrades now for HaNfy. And Impulse Crystals on the way for ShoWTimE, as well as +1 weapons. Poor Zealot. At least ShoWTimE spotted this base as well, down to the bottom right with this Warp Prism. Wait, didn't that die? It's hard to actually follow the game when it's lagging like this. But anyway, the Phoenix are going to come in. They don't have any Impulse Crystals just yet, so the Corruptors are going to trade pretty well against those. But HaNfy is down in terms of supply. How many Mutalisks did he actually lose? Alright, the supplies just keep chopping and changing, guys. I'm not sure what to do. Oh, this is difficult. This is a unique casting experience, guys. We are living this together. Okay, so he has High Templars morphing in for Archons, no doubt. He's got +1 weapons and Anion Pulse Crystals. You know, ShoWTimE actually could win this. Oh, you know, HaNfy had such a great hold on the game before, but just didn't do any damage to the probe line. And now, ShoWTimE, if he gets the 4th base up, if he actually gets a 4th base up, then... then oh dear. Alrighty. So, we have another Stargate in production. The thing is, Anion Pulse Crystals is finished. How many Phoenix are out? There's 9. The Mutalisks aren't really going to have the easiest time against that. Mutalisks now dive in again and kill off a cannon, but that buys enough time here for units to reposition themselves. Where are the Phoenix? They enter the fray, and we still have those 12 Corruptors that can try and zone this out, but they are going to try and make a bit of a meal of it. But, oh well. So, it looks like the lag has stabilized just a little bit here, guys, over on my preview monitor. But we have +2 weapons now being added on for these. I can't believe ShoWTimE is actually going to recover. These Zerglings need to deny this 4th base. That's what HaNfy needs to do from here. HaNfy needs to keep denying the 4th. He knows his opponent's mining out from his natural as well as main base. So as long as he just keeps pinning down this 4th base location, as long as he doesn't allow any income whatsoever from there, he should be fine. There's really not too much else. But these Phoenix can still trade pretty efficiently. Sorry, guys. I apologize for being completely bewildered by what was going on before. I felt that HaNfy should have had a very, very solid hold on the game about 10 minutes ago. But ShoWTimE has fought his way back very, very effectively. He really had no units whatsoever. But HaNfy wasn't able to capitalize on that period of time where he should have been able to. So anyway, it's by the by, because HaNfy behind all of this is trying to get himself, you know, set up in such a way that he's going to have a superior economy. He's going to have superior tech. He's got his high finish. He's getting adrenal glands. Ultralisks as well can really put a stop to a lot of what we're seeing from him. And the Mutalisks just continue to press the issue. Now, compared to what we were seeing from game number 2, where ShoWTimE was like, right, okay, well, I don't feel comfortable enough to just sit here and wait for these Mutalisks to really like harass me to death. Because this map is so big, HaNfy can happily just sit back with the bank that he had and just keep harassing and know that his opponent isn't going to push across the map, because that's pretty much suicide. And there's 8 Ultralisks on the way. I mean, HaNfy just, I don't see how his army is going to be beaten. He has 1 Immortal. How are you supposed to beat 8 Ultralisks with this army with like 20 Blink Stalkers? Alright, anyway. ShoWTimE's going to continue on and try his best. The base over on the right-hand side actually was denied by some Zealots, which is a pretty good pick-off. Pretty good. But now this is just spiraling out of control, because now we have these lovely Ultralisks getting all of their upgrades going. They'll eventually, if he waits for the engagement, be at 3-2 with chitinous plating. And then we even have +3 armor as well as +2 weapons finishing up for the air army as well. All he has to do is group up all of his army and then just push. Push for the win. Push for the win. As HaNfy is looking to try and come back in this series, and one method of doing it is certainly by playing patiently. Yes, you probably could have ended this game earlier, but why do that if you feel confident in your ability to draw out the game, keep your opponent pinned down, and then accrue a massive, massive bank behind that? And then stretch your opponent thin. All of ShoWTimE's eggs were placed in establishing this 4th base. It's been relatively unsuccessful. The Ultralisks are taking a bit of free damage from the Zealots as they pursue them, but just 1 turnaround. Actually, it doesn't have an Overseer there, so that DT is going to die from Cleave. Almost. The DTs, no, they did okay. And these Ultralisks in the end didn't really do a whole lot. I still think he should have just grouped up all of his Corruptors, Mutalisks, and Ultras and gone for a solid frontal push with that. Because he actually didn't deny that 4th base in the end. Alright, anyway. So, as things continue on here, HaNfy now seems to realize that Overseers are required in this army, and Zealots are still harassing these bases over on the right-hand side. He's still continuing to be patient, and threw a lot more of his gas as well as minerals into more Mutalisks. I can't believe this game isn't over yet. I really can't. But we continue on. We press on as ShoWTimE mounts the recovery. I swear, guys, I swear, if ShoWTimE wins this game, I will tell you the real reason why I have a black eye. Although if you've been following my Twitter, you already know I'm just trolling you for the entire broadcast. So, and Infestors as well. Okay, HaNfy, this is your killing blow, my friend. You lock down those Blink Stalkers and then you kill them off. All right, so just a few more. A lot of Phoenix. You know, actually, if he were able to get in there and pick up the Infestors before they landed their fungals, that would be nice. But 1 fungal on Phoenix anyway would just absolutely end this game. It's up to this Phoenix to really keep him in this. And the Mutalisk's hovering over this ground. I think he wanted to, I think that was probably a miscontrol. Like, he wanted to send in, what is going on? Like, he wanted to send in his Corruptors to chase, but he sent in his Mutalisks instead. He probably just sent in the wrong control group there. And right now, if ShoWTimE got up a 5th base, then this would be pretty crazy. A lot more Zerglings in production. More bases have been denied over here. This Warp Prism is going uncontested. Send like 2 Mutalisks over there, man, and get that Warp Prism. He is a tricky devil. He is a smooth criminal. There's that Warp Prism. Run away! Okay, okay, the 1 Corruptor, 1 Mutalisk hit squad are over there to kill off Smooth Criminal. Bam, bam, bam. Bye-bye. Okay, Greater Spire now morphing in. So transition over to Broodlords would be kind of cool, but he already has the Fleet Beacon in place, so Tempests could be a factor. He needs, if ShoWTimE wants Tempests on the field, though, he needs the gases at that 5th base that he's just to position himself with. And I mean, HaNfy, once again, is just amassing in strength, getting himself in a better position. The amount of infestors he's going to have in this army with chain fungal potential is so good, because one thing that really hurts ShoWTimE now is the fact that his army composition, in general, yes, he's going to be able to deal with things like the Mutalisks and the Corruptors, but the infestors just have no answer. He ideally would need to leave with what he has. He would ideally need to leave a few High Templars for the ability to feedback, but even then I don't think he could get in range of this, those infestors. You'd need to be really, really quick on the trigger. Like, ShoWTimE would need the full package, right? He would need like maybe Corruptors, Colossi in the army, maybe some High Templars for those feedbacks. He has the Phoenix numbers available to him to defeat the Mutalisks eventually, but they'd be zoned out as well by the Corruptors. Although, how many Broodlords did he just morph in? Because every single Broodlord he just morphs in, which is 9, he needs Corruptors as well to actually fend off the Phoenix eventually. So if that was all of his Corruptors, sadly I can't look at the units tab. Hopefully they'll look at that eventually on the German stream. But that's a big deal. Okay, there's a few there. Oh, there is quite a few Corruptors still there, but with the number of Phoenix that we have out as well, they could probably, well, actually no, they probably can't contest with it because of the infestors. So, what an odd game. What a bizarre game that we're currently watching. Lots more upgrades now in the production tab here for HaNfy, realizing that, you know, being maxed out pretty much, he has the opportunity to do this. And if they blink onto the low ground to try and pursue those Broodlords, then they are going to have a sad, sad time. It's going to be up to the Phoenix somehow to try and find a position away from those infestors on the right-hand side to really do the damage to this. He has 22 Phoenix. He needs to, like, spread them out at a big, big concave and then just A-click on the Broodlord so they're all separated up when they go for the fight. Oh god, HaNfy's got such a good army. Good kill off of this base as well. This is where the construction really begins. But the Phoenix now, he actually did spread them out to actually avoid the fungals. One great fungal on this right-hand side with the chaining of that. And all of the Phoenix actually clumped up on the left and middle. So he continues to actually press the issue. And the fungals, they're just going to be too much, I feel, in the end. ShoWTimE spread his Phoenix out really, really well. It was the best way that he could probably try and take that engagement, but it still wasn't enough with the firepower that we were seeing behind this for HaNfy. And finally, HaNfy had a lot of opportunities to finish this game, but he played it out patiently. You can't discredit him for that. There you go, GG. Game number 3 goes to HaNfy. The patience paid off in the end. It was a bit of a long, drawn-out game, but he now brings it back 1 game. Okay, guys, it seems that ShoWTimE is going to take a bit of a break. Going to cut to me, and I'm going to take a bit of a break, just informing you here at the ESL Pro Series that I'm going to take a small break as well, so I can give my voice a little bit of a chance to rest. If you're curious as to why I am currently injured, I ran into a door after losing a bet with Carmack, after cheesing Slivko on ladder. So, without further ado even, I shall be right back in a few minutes with game number 4 between HaNfy and ShoWTimE.
Die Stimmung ist natürlich grandios. Die Stimmung ist natürlich grandios.
All right, guys, I am back. We could have listened to the Germans talk about something, or we could just chill out. We could just chill out. Currently, they're doing a section. Actually, what are they doing a section on? They're doing a competition, so it's going to take a while to get into the 4th game, I guess. I'm not sure. But regardless, whatever they're doing, they're giving away some SteelSeries stuff. If you know German and you want to go over to the German stream and then find out what's going on there, you can probably win some SteelSeries things from our sponsor here for the ESL Pro Series. For now, we are just waiting to get into the next game. And for now, ShoWTimE is currently 2 games up to 1 against HaNfy. I felt that Al-Shazim Stronghold was probably HaNfy's map, though. With how things went. We kind of analyzed it pretty well at the beginning as well in terms of how HaNfy was playing the first 2 games and then his strengths going into the 3rd game on Al-Shazim Stronghold with the heavy Mutalisk count, and then him obviously utilizing that moving forwards was very, very good. So, okay. Let's go see what they're doing on the German stream. We can talk over this just a little bit. They're looking at food. This is Michael Bister, our EPS product manager, I believe. And then we have Melly, who occasionally hosts things like World of Tanks, as well as EPS. So that is our formal introductions for our stream, and then these 2 guys. A lot of people asking me what actually happened to my face, as well as my hand and stuff. Okay, so the true story as what happened is I was running from train to train and I fell over, because I can run pretty fast. So when you fall over when you're running pretty fast, it kind of hurts. So yeah, it hurt, guys, it hurts. But it's okay, it's okay. And now we're back to the Germans here with Mr. Take. All right, so back to me. Back to me with my cool black eye. Not quite as cool as I'm making it out to be, but anyway. So currently, ShoWTimE is 2 games up against HaNfy. HaNfy is looking to get ready here into the next game, as we now have them on stream. So we have, there is ShoWTimE. Currently 2 games up. Sorry, currently 1 game up, technically, if you want to denounce it as the best of 5. But I see muffins. All right, let's get into game number 4. As we have spawning up to the top right-hand corner, our blue Zerg. Currently teamless. It is HaNfy. Looking quite handsome. I think he has his girlfriend with him here today. There he is, it's HaNfy. Da-da-dum, da-da-dum. And down to the bottom left-hand corner, we have our red Protoss. It is ShoWTimE. All right. Great stuff. So we are here on Way Station. For some of you guys that aren't familiar with Way Station, a new map, well, relatively new map compared to stuff like Frost. It's pretty darn new, guys. It's one of the new maps in the map pool for ladder, WCS, and here at EPS as well. It effectively is 2 maps. Depending on where you actually spawn. If you spawn down in these bottom 2 locations, bottom left and top right, then you have a very, very short rush distance. It's actually a pretty big map, but this is like a really rushy location. And that's why we're actually seeing HaNfy opening up for a spawning pool compared to some kind of hatchery first, because he's a bit scared of the potentials of what his opponent can do in these 2 locations. Whereas if you spawn up in top left and bottom right, then you get into a position where it's very, very macro-focused, a lot harder to really rush over the other side of the map. And also the 2 watchtowers, regardless of which spawning positions you actually spotted in the very beginning, control a huge, huge section of the middle map. So if you are able to get yourself up and running with your economy, very, very stable, and then control those 2 watchtowers, you have huge amounts of time to react to any mid-game like pushes or mid-map pushes, because you just know so far in advance. All right. So, for now, we're just going to wait and see how this unfolds. Now, the one thing from ShoWTimE that we're seeing already is that with his gateway opener, is that he does have a potential and opportunity to actually go for some kind of aggression very, very fast. His tech's going to be very quick. So I wouldn't be surprised if we saw something like a gateway push come out from ShoWTimE here. Could happily go for something similar to, you know, like an immortal push later on. Anything is a good option for him here, as we'll see what he wants to get up to in just a little bit. So for now, we have hatchery going down over on the left-hand side as well. So a triple hatch opener from HaNfy. Not doing something crazy like, you know, a very, very late delayed third base. I think he can probably get away with this, but he does have to be so mindful as to exactly how his opponent's going to be playing out. And this, all right, okay, we said it like 3 minutes ago, or 2 minutes ago, I should say, what he was going to be doing. So now, how well can he sneak a probe out up to another location and then put on some aggression is the big question. This probe up to the top left, he's actually going to get away with that. One thing that really works out for ShoWTimE here in game number 4 is that if we look back from game number 1, 2, and 3 and think about how active HaNfy has been with his Zergling scouting to like spot pylons or spot something hidden near his bases, not really a whole lot. Like, where is his Zergling even actually poking at the front? It's just not there. It's not actually keeping eyes and tabs on what's going on. So not only is this Mothership Core going to start working on this, although he kind of anticipates it. Look at this. I mean, he's got a Spine Crawler going down. He's got 16 Zerglings in production. So after spotting the gateway opener, you know, he can infer more so than not that this is going on. Unless, of course, he actually did spot those gateways, which I didn't see if he did or not. So maybe he did, but anyway, these Zealots are going to get out of control pretty soon. He actually walks back into a very unopportunistic position. I guess he just wants to get back to his reinforcements as quickly as possible. And with that, he's actually killing off a lot of Zerglings here. So this is some good aggression by ShoWTimE. That one Spine Crawler walking across, if those Zealots position themselves better, he can actually just get that hatchery. But he wants to get right on top of that Spine Crawler. If he can breach that location, that's going to negate a lot of the damage that we're going to see here from Zerg. 3 Queens trying to work away at this. The Spine Crawler is now burrowed in. This is a good opportunity for HaNfy to actually push this back. ShoWTimE really didn't anticipate that Spine going along, but now it is isolated and not being able to do the damage that it wants to, as those Zerglings and Queens do fend that off. And as the creep moves forwards bit by bit, then that pylon is a little bit vulnerable. He has the second pylon behind it to keep it working away, though. And all importantly, he's actually kept this Mothership Core alive. But with these Zergling numbers increasing, ever increasing, the Zerglings really need to do something. Otherwise, the Zealot numbers just rise too far. It's the Zealots just become exponentially more powerful. I mean, those Zerglings just cannot engage that number of Zealots right now. So he has to buy time somehow. He's going to try and defend this with only Zerglings, which is a bit of a tall order. Tries to get one of them down there. Speed, because he didn't have his gas up and running earlier on, is not finished just yet. And the Zealots are actually going to go for this engagement. They're also, well, the majority of them are also healthy, and the Zerglings on this left-hand side are actually dying off pretty fast. He's cleaned up a lot of the Zealots. It's blow for blow, really trade for trade. And as HaNfy holds on, as HaNfy continues to hold on to his third base, this is getting better for him. Because he's finding room now to commit his gas to everywhere else. He's finding room to get his layer up and running. And this Robo Facility did get added on behind that for ShoWTimE. Again, it's a little bit hard for me to keep track of exactly what's going on because I'm not observing, so apologies for that. I'm just piggybacking on the German stream. And so he did take his gases behind all of this. I assume that ShoWTimE now just goes into an immortal push from here. But the Overlord at the natural, I think, spotted everything that's going on. The Zergling's trying to get in. He actually seals a lot of those in, but he actually needs to force it. Ooh, dear me, that was close. Doesn't want to be losing any sentries, but needs to keep those in. Good for extra force field. Keeping those Zerglings sealed in means that, yeah, eventually he has to replenish them. But at least he saw an Immortal, right? He sees an Immortal in sentries. HaNfy must know and must anticipate exactly the follow-up that's coming from here. So, Hydralisk then goes down. He's going to try and hold on against this with Hydras. Noticeably, he's only committed to one upgrade. Any extra gas that he commits to a Carapace upgrade from here on out, I don't think it's really going to help out a whole lot. So just getting the weapons upgrades, I think that's a good idea for him. So he can just commit all of his gas right now to that Hydralisk production. Because he knows what's coming. He knows what is going to happen from here. It's that extra push. Warp Prisms got added on as well. He actually didn't deal with that pylon. There is another pylon still alive up to the north that did not get killed off. He only killed the one right next to the hatchery. So that's a bit of a mishap there from HaNfy. Killing that would have helped him a lot, because it would have denied Warpins a bit quicker from this position. But now this is kind of a hard location for ShoWTimE to breach with this army, this composition. He needs to force the issue. He needs to really get on top of this hatchery very quickly and then force field around the hatchery in position. If HaNfy had taken the engagement a little bit earlier, but he didn't really have the units to, HaNfy would have been a little bit better. But now, I mean, ShoWTimE has found that location that he needed. He's going to bring down that hatchery. There's really not a whole lot of firepower against this Protoss army to hold on. And ShoWTimE, with these two Immortals, is really doing a lot of damage. Wants to pick up that one Immortal at the front, though. The Warp Prism, go, go, go! Ah! Oh, well, okay. Loses that one. But killing off that hatchery was a nice touch. Nice little pickup for him. I can't believe it's actually lost that Immortal. The Warp Prism was quite idle, so ShoWTimE showing a little bit of miscontrol there. Oh, and he actually lost the Warp Prism. Ah, okay. So not the best of execution just yet from ShoWTimE, but he's still in a good spot. There's only 3 Hydralisks out. If he landed a force field on that ramp, I mean, the drones have to come off the line. This is really, really dire straits for HaNfy, as ShoWTimE is looking to advance on. That one Immortal, despite being the lone Immortal, he is holding on strong for the Protoss, and HaNfy is completely down and out. A bit of a wacky game, a bit of a weird game, but ShoWTimE will end up breaking on through, even dancing his units. GG, good luck, and ShoWTimE happy with that one. He guarantees himself at least 1,500 euros in that grand final, and he's now going to be going up against either Marine or Patience. So, guys, that does it for our first series here at the EPS Germany finals. My name is Kyle Aris, casting some EPS solo casts. I'm looking a little bit worse for wear at the moment. Sorry about that, guys. But I'll try and power on through where I can. So, for now, we are going to go to a short break. I'm going to